Welcome to the deep dive. Ever wondered why some people seem, well, perfectly content spending time alone, maybe even energized by it?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. Today, we're diving into some characteristics, some signs, you might say, of people who naturally lean towards solitude.
Hmm.
Our starting point is a YouTube video transcript. It's from the EDP English Dialogue podcast channel, and the title is Seven Signs You Were Born to Be a Loner.
Right, although the title says seven, the transcript we have actually digs into five key signs.
Exactly. So those five are what we'll be unpacking today. Not as a negative thing, of course, but more as a way to understand different preferences.
Absolutely. I think in a world that feels, so focused on constant connection, it's really valuable to look at the other side, the strength people find in their own company.
Yeah, definitely. So our goal here is really to give you a kind of shortcut to understanding these tendencies. Maybe you'll see a bit of yourself or perhaps someone you know.
That aha moment.
Precisely. So if you've ever felt like maybe you're not a huge people person or you just really value your downtime, this deep dive should be interesting for you.
We want to explore these five signs, not as like rigid labels, but more as insights, clues to how different people tick and the strengths that come with that.
Okay, let's jump in. The first sign, thriving in solitude. What does that actually mean, to thrive alone?
Well, think about energy. For some people, being alone isn't just okay, it's where they genuinely recharge. It's where they feel most themselves, most energized.
So it's different from just needing to recover after being social.
Exactly. It's the primary source of refueling. Extroverts tend to get energy from being around
Mhm.
people, right?
Yeah,
But for those who lean towards solitude, it's the quiet, the alone time that really fills up their tank.
okay, that makes sense. The source mentions things like reading, writing, or just, quietly thinking things over, getting lost in a book maybe.
Yeah, those kinds of activities. We're engaged, but primarily within your own headspace. And the key thing here is consistency.
Ah, right. It's not just an occasional thing.
No, it's more like a regular requirement for their well-being.
Yeah,
It's not just a nice to have, it's
yeah.
essential. Some research even suggests introverts might process dopamine, that reward chemical, differently.
Yeah.
So overstimulation isn't as enjoyable.
Interesting. So that quiet time feels genuinely good, rejuvenating.
Exactly. So maybe a question for you listening. Do you actively seek out that alone time? And do you feel, really more like yourself during those moments?
It really makes you think about your own energy sources, doesn't it? Okay, let's move to the second sign. This one feels particularly relevant today. Deep focus and concentration.
Oh, definitely. This is about the ability to really um, zero in on a task
Hmm.
without needing a lot of external stuff going on to stay engaged.
Like tuning out distractions.
Precisely. Because they're comfortable being alone in that quiet space, they can often just dive deep into whatever they're doing, work, a hobby, anything.
You hear about people getting lost in their work or a project. Is that the kind of thing?
That's a great way to put it, losing track of time because you're so absorbed. That kind of intense focus often seems to come more easily in solitude for these individuals.
And the benefits there seem obvious. Productivity, creativity.
Absolutely. The source mentions things like coding, studying complex topics, writing, tasks that really demand that sustained attention.
It's like having a built-in concentration superpower.
Kind of. And it's not just about putting in the hours, it's the quality of that focus. Fewer interruptions. You're fully immersed in doing your best work.
Yeah, I can see that. Have you ever noticed yourself how much more you get done when you can just shut the door and focus?
Oh, for sure. It's that lack of external demands that lets the internal focus sharpen. It's quite powerful.
Definitely. Okay, sign number 3 takes us into the social realm, a preference for meaningful conversations.
Hmm. This one's interesting. It's about finding small talk.
Mm.
Well, a bit draining. Or maybe just unfulfilling.
So not enjoying the usual chit-chat about the weather.
Pretty much. They tend to crave conversations with more substance. You know, digging into ideas, sharing genuine thoughts and feelings, making real connections.
So it sounds like quality over quantity in relationships.
Exactly that. They might have a smaller circle of friends, but the connections they do have are often deeper, more significant.
That makes sense. The source transcript points out it's not about being antisocial, right?
Crucial point. Yeah, it's not that they dislike people. It's more about being intentional with their social energy. They prefer to invest it in interactions that feel, worthwhile and genuine.
It's about substance. Maybe superficial talk just doesn't offer enough stimulation.
That's a really interesting angle. Perhaps there's a higher need for cognitive engagement, so small talk just feels a bit empty.
It reframes it, doesn't it? Less about being standoffish, more about seeking depth. Okay, moving on to number 4, self-sufficiency.
Yes. This is about a high degree of independence, being comfortable doing things on their own.
Handling tasks, making decisions without needing constant input.
Exactly. They're generally self-reliant. They don't necessarily shy away from collaboration, but they're perfectly capable of, and often prefer, figuring things out and getting things done independently.
And the source suggests this builds useful skills.
Absolutely. Relying on yourself tends to foster strong problem-solving abilities. You learn to trust your own judgment, take responsibility. It can be quite empowering.
I can see that.
Yeah.
A sense of control over your own stuff.
And again, it doesn't mean they reject help. The transcript is clear on that. It's just that they have the capacity and the confidence to manage alone when they need to, or even when they just prefer to.
That inner strength, standing on your own 2 feet. Got it. Okay, the 5th and final sign we're covering today sort of brings us back to the beginning. Enjoyment of reflective activities.
Yeah, it ties back nicely to thriving in solitude. This is about being drawn to introspection.
Like journaling, meditating.
Those are great examples from the source, yeah. Or even just taking quiet time to think, to contemplate, to process thoughts and emotions.
And this isn't just about killing time quietly.
Not at all. The transcript emphasizes these are active practices for personal growth, connecting with your inner world, gaining self-awareness.
So it's a valuable use of that alone time.
Very much so. For people who lean this way, these reflective activities are often cherished. They prioritize them because they nurture their mental and emotional well-being. It's about understanding themselves better.
Right. Okay, so let's quickly recap those 5 signs from the source. We had thriving in solitude.
Finding energy alone, then deep focus and concentration.
That ability to really zone in. Third was the preference for meaningful conversations.
Quality over quantity in social interactions. Then self-sufficiency.
That independence and capability. And finally, enjoyment of reflective activities.
Journaling, meditating, thinking deeply.
Yeah, when you list them like that, it paints a pretty clear picture. And it feels less like defining a loner in a negative way.
Exactly. That's so important. These aren't flaws. They're personality characteristics, and they come with their own unique advantages. It's really a spectrum, too. Someone might tick a few of these boxes, but still enjoy being social sometimes.
It's about where your natural equilibrium lies, maybe.
That's a good way to think about it. And the source suggests that embracing these tendencies, if they feel true for you, can actually lead to a more authentic life, aligning how you live with who you are.
Makes sense. Living more authentically.
Of course, balance is usually key, isn't it? While solitude has its strengths, having some comfortable, fulfilling connections is generally important for most people's well-being.
Right, it's not necessarily an either-or situation, solitude or social life.
No, it's more about understanding your own needs and making conscious choices that support your overall quality of life.
So for you listening, maybe think about which of these signs, if any, resonate. Does recognizing these tendencies give you any new perspectives on your own life? Or maybe on how you interact with others?
Yeah, how could this understanding maybe shift things for you personally or professionally?
It leads to a final thought, perhaps. In a world that often pushes for constant engagement, being always on, maybe there's real value in recognizing and, well, honoring these quieter, more solitary tendencies. Perhaps it's actually a path to greater self-awareness and a more intentionally designed life.
Something to definitely think about. A more satisfying life, maybe, built around what truly works for you.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into these characteristics of people who might lean towards solitude. We hope it's given you some food for thought.
Yeah, maybe some useful insights into yourself or the people around you.
Consider which signs felt familiar and what that understanding might mean for you going forward. Until our next exploration, take care.